If you've ever had dogs, you might have noticed that some act as a sort of four-legged barometer. Their behaviour changes with the weather, or rather their behaviour changes in anticipation of weather. Often, they know there is something brewing in the atmosphere long before we do, which is really cool and helpful too. But let's be honest, it's not just weather, is it? They often see or sense other things that we can't, things far creepier than weather. I have a 5-month-old female golden retriever pup. She is a submissive type who crawls meekly on her belly and rolls over to show her belly when she meets anyone new. She rarely barks, not at the front door or at people who are walking by. But every day at about 1 p.m, she positions herself between me, where I'm sitting at my home office desk, and the doorway to the room, and ferociously protects me from something. You'd think she's protecting me from an attacking grizzly bear trying to get through the door the way she acts. With her back to me, her hair is raised, her head lowered, and she snarls viciously, and it just sounds terrifying. This lasts for about 15 minutes. Then she settles down with her head on my feet, whimpering a bit with a few occasional woofs that don't sound happy. She's never behaved like this towards any human or any other dog, and she's well socialised. I wonder, should I be worried about her protectiveness, or should I be grateful for it? Is she nuts, or is there a ghost in my room? I don't know much about the paranormal, but I tell you, she is giving me the chills. We know that dogs have the ability to hear higher-pitched noises, and from a much greater distance than we humans. Could this dog have heard something that her human couldn't, or did she see it? I wonder if there was something that only the dog could see, which was passing by that doorway every day at 1 p.m. Well, in the next story, we have 3 dogs acting in unison and reacting to something in the darkness. The house I grew up in had an odd design in that all the bedrooms were clumped together at one end of the house, and the kitchen and living room were at the other end. Well, the 2 areas were connected by a long, narrow hallway, and my bedroom door was at the end of the hall, with 2 other bedroom doors facing each other across the hall on either side. Well, basically, this meant that if you were sitting in our living room, you could look straight down the hallway to see my bedroom door. Now, loads of strange and frightening things happened in that house, but the one thing that we could never rationalise away or lie to ourselves about was the darkness at the end of that hall. So the hallway was very long and narrow, like I said, and it was also panelled in dark wood, so it was pretty dark down there. But with the living room lights on, there was usually enough light to see down the hall and make out my bedroom door. But some nights, we'd be sitting in the living room and get this feeling that we were being watched, or that something was about to happen. When that feeling would come over us, the end of the hallway would be completely blacked out, like blanketed in black, as though someone dropped a curtain over the end of the hall. You could see part of the way down, and then there was just blackness. When this would happen, our 3 dogs, God bless them, would go to the mouth of the hallway and sit in a line across it, just staring down into the darkness, which, on reflection, was maybe their way of blocking us from walking down there. Anyhow, sometimes they'd bark a little or growl, but mostly they just sat and stared. Once in a while, one of them would get brave enough to walk down the hall, but they never got more than, say, halfway to the darkness before they'd stop and back up. And they would walk backwards up the hall, never turning their back on whatever it was that they were looking at. Well, after a little while, the oppressive feeling would just sort of lift and the heavy darkness would disappear. And then the dogs just wandered off. Well, I should say that this didn't happen often, but compared to all the normal sort of spookiness we experienced in that house, like things disappearing and stuff flying off shelves and strange voices or breezes, that sort of thing. But this thing with the dogs, it was the only thing that we could never convince ourselves was just in our heads. Some say that spirit energy can appear to us as visible orbs or shadows that hover in place or fly across the room. Well, this often happens in our own peripheral vision, but dogs' eyes are extra sensitive to movement and they are ultra sensitive to vibration and changes in frequency. I get the feeling that there is a whole other world that our dogs are privy to, for good or bad. Well, if you enjoy exploring this strangeness, please consider becoming a member of my channel. Members get sweet treats and extra videos. I hope you'll check it out as it really helps me to keep making these videos. Just click on the join button for more information. My 1-year-old German Shepherd sleeps next to me on my bed. She's very brave. That's why I let her sleep with me. She's not afraid of gunshots or lightning, loud trucks, nothing at all. But the last 5 nights, she has sprung upright on the bed, her ears as tall as they go, just staring out the open bedroom door. Her heart is racing 200 beats a minute, and no exaggeration, and she is shaking. She backs up into me hard, almost to the point of pushing me out of the bed. Well, last night was the worst. I was sitting up reading and my shepherd went bolt upright, same as the 4 nights before, but she pinned me down as she backed up onto my face and my right shoulder. I couldn't move. I yelled out to my husband to come and help me. He was sound asleep on the lounge, but he came in, he turned on the lights, and he physically couldn't get her off me. Eventually, he managed to coax her to move. You know, he'd figured that I'd been exaggerating when I told him about what she'd done the previous 4 nights, so finally he could see it for himself. Well, he managed to persuade her to jump off the bed, then go down the hall with all the lights on, but she didn't walk, she slunk the whole way down. Her belly was almost on the floor. Well, he put her outside on the deck for a bit. She looked around and seemed less timid and started to sort of recuperate. But when we brought her back in, she slunk down the hall again on her belly. There was no noise before her reaction. There was no person, no nothing. Just blank space of the open doorway. She saw something that we couldn't see. What could be creepier than your dog staring hard at the dark corner of a room with its hackles up, all tense and unblinking, maybe with a low growl or grumble, or even scarier, a whimper? You know there's something there. You can't see it, but your dog can. Did you know some say that accumulated energy can collect in the corner of a room, like a dust bunny, if you like? It kind of gets stuck there for a time until it dislodges and moves on its way again. I'm just saying. We have 3 dogs, 3 Shelties and 1 cat. We feed all 4 of them at the same time, once in the morning and once at 5:30 p.m. Mealtime is a big deal for them. It's a real highlight of the day. When I clank their bowls together, everybody comes running, no matter where they are. But last year, around Christmas time, instead of being interested in eating in the afternoon, they would all gather in the front hall and look up at the space above the front door and just bark like crazy for 15 minutes. And not just the 3 dogs, the cat would sit there and stare at that space just as earnestly. Then after about 15 minutes, they'd just stop in unison, go eat and carry on like normal. The 4 of them did that every single day for about 6 weeks, and then one day they didn't, and they've never done it again. Our connection with dogs is a beautiful thing, and no doubt it has shaped humankind, but there is an age-old connection between dogs and the other worlds too. This link is found across many and diverse cultures too. How do we explain that? Do you think their behaviour can be explained by science alone? Let me know what you think in the comments. And remember, it's a strange world. Keep your eyes and ears open and be kind. Cheerio!